Back out in the garage today, I'm gonna make a few brackets. I took and made my paper templates to get an idea on what I wanted to do. Went inside, drew it up in Mastercam, and now I have it ready to go on my plasma table here. So I'm gonna cut these out, bend them up, and get them to fit. So I got this one here is to hold the coolant reservoir. This one here is gonna be for my transmission cooler. Shoot, I just moved it. Crap. Well, that sucks. Well, that was a waste. Well, let's try that again. That's a complete waste of material. Well, I wasn't very careful and I ended up moving this, trying to get that piece out of there. So I ended up just moving it over, cut a new one. I'll pick through this and cut everything out around it, so I won't waste too much material there. Well, my next step, come over here. I'm just gonna hit this with a DA, clean everything up, get a real nice surface on both sides, get rid of all the dross, and then move on to bending it. So next step in the process is come in to bend control here and set up my bend. I got a couple simple programs just for a single bend for stuff like this where I'm just doing one part. So I come in, select my aluminum, select my degree of bend, over bend, I don't know, I can't remember what it was for this, so let's just do 0. Material thickness is 1/8 inch. My back gauge I want set at, I'll go 3.2. That should do it. Bend width about 1.5, I think it's 2 inches actually. This just calculates the tonnage it needs for overload protection. Save that. I gotta change this to, I'm gonna change my die. I think this is 88. Just over 3/4 of an inch. So 866 with riser, save that, and then that should do it. All right, come in, or actually where was my back gauge set? Lower fingers, perfect. Come in, run that. starting to try and get everything packaged in here real nice. I got my air filter sitting in place. This bracket is actually to hold a new coolant reservoir. Don't need much, just a little bit overflow tank. So this is going to come down, sit right here. I'll use the factory little tab nut, and I'll put a nut zert back here, a rib nut, then put the little canister right down here. There's not much room, but it gives me just enough, clears the air filter. So now once I get this put in, I can start designing the air filter box. It's not going to be a full box. I'm going to take and come off of the tab here and the tab here, and I'll make a cover, and it'll go down underneath and cover it from this side. And then on the fender side, I got a vented fender, so I'm just going to leave that open to the outside air, and that's where I'm going to get my fresh air from. I just want something to block the hot air from the engine as much as possible, so it's not being sucked into the intake, because that robs a lot of horsepower. So I'll get this bolted up, get this put on next, then I'll go bend that other bracket. All right, we'll probably slot those. Well, there it is. Transmission cooler bracket. Fits in pretty good. There was a couple holes here. I just put some rib nuts in there. I can't remember if I drilled these holes before or if they were here, but it's where I had my power steering cooler mounted. I had it on the top before, now I'm just moving it to the bottom so I can put a bigger transmission cooler. Bigger the transmission cooler, the better, honestly. The more you keep them cool, the longer they last. The other bracket is in here for the coolant reservoir. That worked out really slick. Got the hole in it for my ground stud. Clears everything. Had to drill and put a rib nut in here, but other than that, this works really slick. Pretty much bolt in. This bolt was already here, so I just reused that. Now, when I'm ready to go permanently mount all this, I'll just put that on there and be done. But I still got to take the whole core support off because I'm going to wire the thing up and it's just easier to do without this in the way. Here's another part I made. Had to make a transfer case bracket for the shift cable, so I came off the shifter bolts on the 4L80. I used the original bracket to get my hole spacing, came up with the design. When I cut it out, this is the first one I made. Had to modify it slightly. I added this little tail so I can put a zip tie around the end, support the cable, and then I added these little spacers just to get everything to sit right, but that works out pretty slick. I'm going to go underneath, bolt this in place, get the transfer case shifter all finished up, so then I can put the center console back in and be done with that at least. I still need to do a transmission shifter bracket for the cable, but I haven't quite figured out how I want to do that yet. I'm still looking at it. But I'm going to hop under, throw this in. Well, today I'm plugging away, wiring this thing up, and I have to say there's a few things I'm not very impressed with. First of all, I have to run this second temp sensor. The wire isn't even long enough, so I need to get an extension for that. I have a wiring harness that goes inside the cab that I'll have to drill a hole for in the floorboard, which is fine, but the supplied rubber grommet is just sitting in the box. So now I'm going to have to pick which side of this I want to de-pin in order to put the rubber grommet on. If you're going to build something and charge over $3,000 for it, I really do expect little things like this to be done. This is what I'm paying for. It is, in my opinion, not a very well routed harness. Everything's just separate. Everything separates at this point. And then a lot of the wires do end up running together, but you just have multiple wires. It's not very well thought out, in my opinion. Could have been done a lot better, especially for this kind of price. But I'll get it in here, get it functioning. I'll buy an extension. My crank position sensor is also really tight, so I'll end up buying an extension for that. Other than that, I mean, it's not terrible. The instructions are very lackluster, in my opinion. You know, I bought a BP Automotive harness for my 84 for, it was around, I think, $750. And that harness blows this one away hands down. And this one is over $3,000. So I'm not terribly impressed, not really happy with some of this stuff right now, but it is what it is. This is what I have to do in order to keep the function of the Jeep. I has to communicate with the CAN bus. In a way, I kind of wish I just got rid of all of it and rewired it, but that's more work. I'll make this work. I wish the instructions were better, and I really wish that grommet was put on there where it was supposed to be, because that's going to be a nightmare. I'm going to have to de-pin it. I'm going to have to remove the wire loom in order to get this on here correctly, because you can't just cut it, then it'll leak. So that's going to be the fun. Other than that, I mean, I got my fuel line hooked up. I got my torque converter bolted to the flywheel and the flex plate, the inspection cover on. So that's all finished up. Just buttoning up little things. It's kind of the way my day's gone. Just little things here and there. I got my transmission cooler all mounted. That works pretty good. I modified it a little bit, so I'll go back and change my design on the computer, so if I ever cut any more of these out, it'll just bolt right in. The other thing I did today is I got my coolant reservoir bracket all finalized, sitting in here, so that's bolted in there nice and sturdy. So it's all the little odds and ends, takes a lot of time, and it's really not much I can show because crawling underneath, just plugging wires, nobody wants to see that. But for now, I'm calling it a day. I'm gonna go in and eat. Thanks for watching.